Morning. Bloody good morning. Welcome to... Say it.
Sunday Chat!
I'm Richard and this is Paul. And we do have to say at this point that we don't always consider people watching that maybe don't have great sight because, you know, we appeal to everyone, we're inclusive, so I felt maybe we needed to start with an audio description. First of all, don't laugh, Paul, I'm being accessible to everybody.
You're being inclusive.
Inclusive, I want to make myself accessible. No, that didn't sound quite right.
No, it doesn't
No,
sound
inclusive. Inclusivity. So, we're sat on our elegant sofa in a setting not unlike royalty. Large palatial home with very high ceilings, large crystal chandeliers, a red velvet sofa. And I'm Richard, and I guess you could imagine me as some kind of...
Queen.
No, Paul. Some kind of godlike, Prince Charming type figure. Sat next to something that looks like a hobbit from Middle-earth.
I think a fat hobbit.
Fat hobbit from Middle-earth with large hairy feet. So that paints the picture accurately, I feel.
Maybe there could be a film, The Queen and His Hobbit. Maybe we could write a book.
It's not a bad idea, Paul. It's not a bad idea. I like that.
It's already a bestseller.
That's nice. It's different. It's unusual. Anyway, there we are.
Do they want to see my feet?
An audio description for people maybe who can't see properly. And
do they want to hear my feet?
No, don't do the feet rustling thing, Paul. Anyway, you've got socks on today.
Yeah, but I could take them off.
As have I. Elegant socks. Oh, God, my hip's just gone.
Oh. The aged Queen and his hobbit.
Oh, I'm not joking, that hurt. Oh, I've got to do more Jane Fonda. Oh, no, don't cross them, don't cross them. Cross the other one. Oh, relief.
How's your coccyx?
Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I do apologise to anybody I might have offended so far.
Have you offended anyone?
People that can't see, potentially.
Oh right, yeah. What about people?
Because actually,
if people can't hear good lip sync. Oh, and then there's the thing, isn't there?
Lip sync.
Not lip sync.
Read.
Lip read.
Deaf people of the world, lip sync for your life. I mean, that's offensive, Paul.
Oh dear.
Anyway, let's get on with the bloody show before we isolate any more communities.
I feel quite bouncy today.
Stop bouncing. That's better. Paul, look, we can't afford to get a new sofa.
I haven't broken a sofa.
Before you break through to the other side.
I think, did I break a bed once?
No.
I think I broke something once, didn't I?
Not here.
Oh no, it's the dishwasher. It was the dishwasher.
You didn't do it by sitting on it, Paul.
I didn't sit on it.
You would have done if you had. Anyway, let's move on, because people know that story. If you watched us.
And if you didn't, where were you? Well, they may not have known us then. No. If they not have known us.
Anyway, so, first of all, as those of you
has just walked up there with the Father Christmas hat on.
For those of you who do know us, and watch regularly, and watch all the adverts as well, yeah, would know that we usually start with a weather report. Paul, what's the weather been like this week?
It's been a mix, hasn't it?
It has been a bit of a mix.
Did we have snow at the beginning? No, that was the week before, wasn't it? So we had some sun at the beginning, and then we had lots of rain and grey days. And at the moment, there's a blue sky covered in grey and white clouds. Actually, is it always a blue sky
Yeah.
covered in grey and white clouds?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the sky is always blue even if we can't see
Well,
it?
you only see the sky as blue because we're looking through the atmosphere and the light is absorbed and scattered in certain ways so as to appear blue to us.
Blue.
The water is blue, isn't it? Do you remember when we
Yeah,
first got a white bath?
Yeah, water was blue.
And I ran the water and said, oh my God, the water's actually blue.
Wasn't that because we put matey in it?
No, Paul. It was because I ran the bath and looked and it was blue. And it was good.
That was after we had a chocolate brown bath.
Bathroom suite. Not by choice. We inherited it, didn't we, Paul? We couldn't afford in those days to get a new.
We didn't inherit
Well,
it.
we inherited it from the previous owner.
Yeah, yeah. We bought it. It was inclusive with the house.
We wouldn't have chosen it, obviously.
We were inclusive even then, you see.
But we were rather poor at the time, weren't we, Paul?
Well, we had a smaller house.
We were poor. We couldn't afford a new bathroom, so I decorated it in gorgeous colours, didn't I? Oh, yes. I decorated in gorgeous colours. I thought, what colours are usually used in a chocolate wrapper? Blues and golds. Blues and golds and purples. So I decorated the bathroom in these colours, and it was a veritable cornucopia
of colours.
Things.
It was great. That I know we've spoken about this before, actually.
Oh well, we better stop then now, hadn't we?
But it was fantastic. You went into this bathroom and it had so much colour in it, and then he added stars, gold
stars to the wall, stencilled in gold.
And
Not
it's
real
amazing.
gold.
Wasn't it real gold?
Let's move on now.
I tried to
Paul.
scrape it off when we left that house.
Kind of getting really boring now. Let's move on, shall we? So it's been sunny, changeable, and wet, and
it's also been wet as well. Very wet.
Have you finished?
Yeah.
Also, we've got a new storm on the way.
Have we?
Storm Darcy. I know. Storm Darcy.
I could do my Darcy.
I wouldn't, Paul. Storm Darcy on the way to cover us in snow, apparently. It's Beast from the East 2. That's what they're calling it. Apparently 20 to 30 centimetres of snow. Hurrah. Can't wait.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Lovely. Move on now, Paul. Move on.
Why is it called Darcy?
That's the name of the storm. Darcy.
Who's
Christoph was the previous one, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's right.
At least they're getting a little bit more creative, as I requested some time ago. What? I did.
You did.
Maybe the Met Office are watching this.
You did actually ask that. You did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, January is over, well and truly over.
Don't they normally do male, female, male, female? Because Christoph... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, boring. Let's move on. What was I saying? Yeah, January is well and truly over. We're firmly in February now. And on Planet Vegetaria, we're doing our new month of photo challenges. And it's going really well. Isn't it, Paul? Yes, it is.
And what's the hashtag?
Hashtag Seaside Celebration.
With
That's
no
the
gaps.
hashtag. With no gaps or dashes.
No.
And people are enjoying it. And the reason I did it was because in February, people are thinking about holidays. Holidays. Aren't they? People are thinking about holidays. People are thinking about booking holidays. As I said last week in Sunday Chat, so are we. And I thought it would be a nice way to banish the blues of February's
Greyness.
dour, grey oppressiveness.
And it's working.
It is working.
I'm really enjoying all of the photos that are being shared.
So am I.
It's really great. And so many people are contributing. And it doesn't really matter when that photograph was taken by you. It can be taken at any point as long as it celebrates the seaside.
It doesn't have to be the seaside. It
No.
could be some rocks or shells or an old child's bucket and spade that's been discarded and left and never used.
Or some plastic rope.
Some plastic rope.
Well, you get a lot of plastic rope gets...
Fishing nets.
Fishing nets.
Old barnacles.
I can see you out the corner of my eye then.
Yeah, anything at all. So if you're not a member of our Facebook group, Planet Vegetaria, that's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul since 2017. That's contractual. Join us. And join in the fun frolics and the beautiful group that is Planet Vegetaria.
There are some absolutely lovely, lovely photos of huge beachscapes.
You just said all that.
No, there are, and I think it's lovely when you look at a huge beach and you can't see the ends of the beach, if you see what I mean. All you see is sand and the waves and then the sea beyond. I do love that.
I do
Absolutely
too.
adore it.
It's like Barmouth Beach. Barmouth Beach is massive, isn't it? And you've got the best of everything there, because you've got the seascapes, you've got the houses, the gaily painted colours of the seaside parade. Haven't you? And then you've got the estuary, the railway bridge,
Doot, doot.
the mountains yonder. You do. And the vista just keeps on going and giving.
And where were fleeting glimpses of Barmouth on this week?
Oh, on a programme on television.
Country File.
Country File. That's right, that good old Country File. I don't like Country File anymore.
Why don't you like
Because
it?
I don't like the obsession they have with livestock.
Yeah.
Really? No, I don't want to think of the poor little animals being slaughtered
No.
needlessly for food. Animals aren't food. They're not.
But there was lovely photos of Barmouth. There was only about 3 or 4, and
Flashed
one of them
past.
you said, "Is that Barmouth?" And I went, "Yes." We walked along there, and then I could point out the things where, because there's another train. It's not actually at Barmouth, but it's in a head which is in the sort of estuary of Barmouth. There's another little train that goes to just to the point of this head, and then it goes back to the town. It's
Is
not
it?
part of the main one. Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen that.
Well, I said to you, look over there, Richard. There's a little train.
lines, aren't there?
No, not going over the thing.
I don't know what
the
you're
other
talking
the other way.
about now. I think you're living in a different parallel universe.
I'm not.
Anyway,
I'm not.
let's move on from that subject. Le subject.
And what was that head in the sand? There was
a head in the sand.
Yeah, there was a head in the sand dunes.
Not a human head.
No, a wooden
like
head.
an Easter Island head.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
wood
now
in the
rotted.
sands. Yeah.
It's rotted and falling
it was
apart.
falling apart last time we went.
If I can dig out the photograph, I'll splice it in. Anyway, so we did find that what we are finding at the moment, talking about parallel universes, that time is behaving very, very strangely. Very, very strangely. Very strangely.
January seemed to last ages, yet zip by.
And time yesterday seemed to
Compact.
zip by as well, I found. And this morning when you set that timer, Paul, for the bread, and what was half an hour seemed to be condensed.
That didn't feel like 15 minutes.
That didn't feel like 15 minutes.
That felt like 5.
That was 15 though. Yes, strangeness. But no, literally, because yesterday, just to set the scene, we had our social boublé avec la Vivi. There's a little bit of French for you. That's especially for the person that told me not to speak French last week.
Because she's learning English.
Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but I don't give a damn.
You're English, aren't you?
I am English, and most of it is in English, like 99% of the show.
I'm not English, I'm British.
We're not an English teaching channel.
No, but people can learn Richard's pronunciation by listening to us.
All well and good. However, so yesterday, what's yesterday in French? Today's aujourd'hui. Hier. Hier is yesterday, isn't it?
No, I don't know that.
Hier.
Yeah.
That's last. Hier
Oh,
soir.
look, she knows at the back. She's saying, I can't hear you.
So, yeah, social boublé avec la Vivi.
Hier.
Hier. Is it hier? Anyway, it doesn't matter. And that was lovely. We had a fabulous day. I've got to show you something that Vivi gave me. But when we were getting ready to go in the morning, I thought it was about 9 o'clock. You popped off to get the car. More about that later.
Zip car.
The zip car. And you got back, and then we got in the car, and I went to text Vivi to say we were on our way, and it was 9:45.
Yeah.
And that 3/4 of an hour disappeared, and I don't know where it went to.
No.
Do you have that sometimes?
Well, we had it again this morning.
And again this morning.
So I put a soda bread in the oven, set the time of 30 minutes, and then I asked our timer how many minutes were left. I thought she was going to say 14 minutes, and she said 40 seconds. I went, where's that time gone?
Where does the time go?
And of course, when that time has gone, you don't get it back.
No, because you can't travel back in time. No.
We're going to do a bit on that, aren't we?
We're going to do a what on that?
A bit on time.
A bit on?
Yeah, we're going to chat about time at some point.
At some point, we've decided we'd like to do a series where we take a subject and we...
Le subject.
No, it's not. Sujet.
Sujet.
Poor. Where we take a subject and we talk about it in depth. Well, as far as in depth as we can go.
That's
You
deep.
know.
It would be about there.
Yeah, so shallow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are going to think about doing that. There's lots of things we're thinking about doing. It's just having the time to do it. Because we do work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello. God, sometimes. So, also, we had a lovely day with Vivi. Superb. And Vivi experimented with doing a live show. So we were there to sort of help and, you know, lend a hand, a helping hand, as one does with one's friends.
So yeah, Vivi was doing it in the kitchen and we were sitting nearby.
Secretly monitoring on our phones. So that was all lovely. Vivi gave me a lovely gift. Fit for a queen. A new notebook encrusted with jewels.
Are they real?
Of course they're real.
Is that a ruby?
Garnet. Oh no, it's a ruby, a sapphire, and a yellow diamond. Lovely. So that's lovely. Can't wait to start using that. And also the other thing to say is that we were treated to a lovely lunch consisting of Vivi's courgette soup.
Courgette and potato soup.
Oh, God, it's so delicious.
It was fabulous.
Fantastically delicious, considering she doesn't use salt and pepper.
She uses bouillon.
Yes, she does, but she
bouillon.
doesn't use salt and pepper. But she uses an expert blend of herbs. So we'll put a link in here.
And a little bit of rosemary.
And in the description for Vivi's courgette soup. Try it, you will love it.
It was absolutely delicious. Because Vivi was going to make something else. We said, no, let's have soup, because she's got that in the freezer. So we had sort of that more time together, didn't we? And the soup was delicious.
Your eyebrows could do with plucking, Paul. God, they look like...
So we've made our own
just turn.
Courgette and potato soup, and it is delicious. We sometimes put sweet corn into ours. Vivi doesn't like sweet corn, but we sometimes put sweet corn into ours. But do have a look at her recipe.
Yes, we've said that, Paul. Let's move on.
Yeah, I know.
Now.
I just wanted to say it again.
That's all absolutely lovely. This week as well, I felt the need to get a bit of culture. Get a bit of culture. I have. No, I have. A bit of culture.
He has, actually.
I've really been in a mood for reading. Reading. That's reading.
Yeah. Not Reading. That's in Berkshire. No.
Reading. I have. No, I've been reading about the kings and queens of England.
You have.
I've got a book on the subject, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've never read it before. I actually...
Haven't you?
No, I borrowed it from a friend. I don't think they watch. But if you are watching, if you want it back, just let me know.
Yeah, if you want it back, send a cheque for 100 quid and postage, and he'll post it back.
Yeah, I will send it back to you. But I don't think they... What?
Tits in the tree.
Tits in the tree.
Oh, look at them jumping about.
I was just talking.
Oh, sorry, yes.
You cut across me. There is a penalty.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
You will. What was I saying?
Kings and queens.
Kings and queens. So it goes through the kings and queens from William the Conqueror onwards. I do have another book about the ones before the Anglo-Saxon
ones, yeah.
Kings as well. Kings and queen. Was Dudar a queen?
Who?
Boadicea.
Boudicca. Yeah, I think so.
Was she a queen?
I think
or
so.
was she just a tribal leader?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember. But I'm fascinated by those subjects, and you learn things that you never knew.
Yeah, well, that's what learning is about,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm doing that. And also I got drawn into Shakespeare as well.
And in particular...
Richard III. And I was interested in the opening speech. And I was interested in it from a dramatic perspective, from the perspective of the different actors who've played Richard III, or at least delivered that speech on camera. And I was looking at the different styles and the way in which iambic pentameter is used, which is the rhythm, the stresses on the syllables. And it's just such an interesting subject, and I realised that I'd not looked at any of that since being at school. You know? And when you dive into a subject like that, it really tests you to see whether you are truly interested in it.
Yeah.
You know? Otherwise you'll put the book down.
Absolutely.
You'll say, I reject that, I'm not interested. But I was really absorbed by it. I'd really like to do some Shakespeare on camera.
Oh, we'll do some then.
You can't.
I'll direct. I'll direct. I'm Richard III is a great play, but it has so many sour connotations because of my English master calling me stupid when I asked a particular question.
What was the question?
I can't even remember.
Quelle est la question?
I can't remember, but it was a question that all the class had been talking about. They didn't really know the answer. So I asked the question, and anyway.
But how do you know what you said wasn't stupid, Paul?
Because it wasn't, because it was answered 3 weeks later.
Oh.
And it actually came up in an exam.
How old were you?
Oh, 11.
11, and you were doing Richard III?
Maybe 12. Well, yeah, of course.
What do you mean, of course? We didn't touch Shakespeare until...
English language?
Year 2, I think.
Well, year 2, I would have been 12, so maybe it was then. Year 2 in old money, because I think year 2 in new money is like 7
You've
or something.
confused everybody by using the word money, Paul. So, lovely. So that was, I found really interesting. I'm going to continue with that. In fact, I might even do that speech on camera.
It's a good speech.
I might even do that.
It's a really good speech.
I've watched several actors do it. Laurence Olivier, that speech was actually extended. It wasn't the original speech. They added extra bits on in the movie.
From other
bits that Richard III says in other plays of Shakespeare's. So it was still Shakespeare. David Morrissey I watched. I haven't watched Ian McKellen yet. And a couple of other unknown actors. All done in different styles, not necessarily following strictly the rhythms of iambic pentameter, because it's not the whole speech in iambic pentameter actually. And it's a weird thing when you look at how they say iambic pentameter is natural speech rhythms, but when you start to break it down, it first doesn't feel natural, but then
it begins to flow.
You start to look at it from different angles and how the sentences flow into each other. You know, I think there's sort of naive poetry, isn't there, and verse. You know, like things like limericks that have a very definite rhythm that don't work if they don't have that rhythm.
Absolutely.
But then you think about the difference between poetry and song. You know, if you don't have repetition in song, it doesn't become pleasing.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas if you have too much repetition in poetry, it sounds robotic and bizarre. It's very, very interesting when you look at the ways that we communicate with language. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is, and it's actually also sort of in something that we're watching at the moment, which we'll come on to later. Because Christopher Marlowe, who was around, he was what do you call it?
You've lost me now.
Christopher Marlowe was a poet and a playwright around at the same time as William Shakespeare.
No, but in terms of what we're watching.
Yeah.
What?
The Discovery of Witches.
Oh, right. Oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah.
Because it's interesting. Reading Marlowe and reading Shakespeare is really quite interesting, and there's a whole sort of, you know, melting pot of did one or other write other things of each other and things like that, and it's his poetry. Marlowe's poetry is very interesting to read alongside Shakespeare's plays because of the flow. Yeah.
But it's all communication. That's what my point was. It's all forms of communication in different entertaining ways. Whether it's poetry, song, verse, whatever it is, you know, writing in general. I mean, writers have a rhythm.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at Stephen King. I mean, he uses words in visual ways, a bit like how Lewis Carroll did in Alice in Wonderland. You know, the mouse's tail is written in Alice in Wonderland in the form of a tail. You know, things like that are really interesting to the eye. It makes reading much more fun. You know, anyway, bit of culture for you, innit? So, lovely, lovely culture things, nice, lovely. What have we been watching on television?
Well, we finished the...
You see what I did there?
Yeah, you segued.
You missed it. Doesn't matter.
Oh, it was yeah, the flow. So, we finished The Expanse, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we finished The Expanse.
End of season 5. There's one more season to come and that's it.
Well, they can only go so far as there are books.
I think the books go beyond that, don't they?
Do they?
I thought the books went beyond the next one.
So yeah, excellent as usual, cracking finale, leaving us hanging, but just superb performances, superb writing, superb direction, superb effects. There was a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
So that was jolly good fun. Jolly good fun. What else have we watched, Paul?
We started watching. The I forgot what it is. The second series
Castle
of
Rock.
Castle Rock.
So we finished season 1 of Castle Rock. We're on season 2. It's very dark.
It is very dark.
Very dark, but very tense.
Intriguing.
Very tense. Bit too tense for me, to be honest. I'm squirming quite a lot of the time, especially when they just insist on going underwater.
Oh yeah, that did.
I can't bear underwater scenes. They frighten the hell out of me. They really do. I'm not a fan of deep, dark water.
Or bows of boats. You don't like that,
No,
do you?
I do not. No, I do not.
But it's also interesting because of the relationship between a mother and... well, in fact, it's all about relationships between single parent and their children.
Well, it's the story of Annie Wilkes.
Yeah.
Who is the character in Misery, placed into a different setting and universe. Well, not a different universe, it's still the Stephen King universe, but set in a different setting.
But you've also got Pop, who is father to his nephews and is father to 2 adopted Somalian children. They're not children now, they're adults in the thing. But he's also the father to the town as well, that everyone calls him Pop. And it's very... And then we see other characters and you hear a bit about their sort of parents, but you don't really.
And we see Jerusalem's Lot, Salem's Lot, and the Marston House as well. So there's all these familiar characters and places that you know you're in a Stephen King universe. So yeah, interesting, very tense, frightening, but not frightening.
No. Dark though.
Dark, very dark. Lots of blood as well.
But I do like the fact
but not unnecessarily gory.
No, not at all. I do like the fact that they're spinning in all of the Stephen King elements because it is based and inspired on his characters.
Lovely. Let's move on from that one. We watched the film The Dig, which is based on the archaeological finds at Sutton Hoo. And Sutton Hoo, for those of you who don't know, is a small town or village off the coast of Suffolk, which is the east coast.
It's not off the coast of Suffolk, it's within Suffolk.
It's just off the coast.
Oh, I see what you meant. I thought you meant like an island. Yeah.
No. Yeah. By the coast, Paul. Suffolk, which is a county in the east of England. Beautiful county, low-lying county in places, a bit like Norfolk, relatively flat, lots of sort of marshy areas where there are inlets from the sea. You've got the Norfolk Broads in Norfolk, which again is a wetland area where people sail. And similarly, Sutton Hoo is quite near to a water inlet and the sea.
Yeah.
And the basic story of Sutton Hoo is however many thousand years ago.
It was Anglo-Saxon.
Anglo-Saxon,
700? 700?
Many years ago, a tribe or a royal tribe, I don't know what they were, I think it's King Radweld, they believe it was his body. This character died and they had a funeral procession of some description, including a large ship and gold and various objects. And this would have been dragged up from the water to this site and buried. And in 1939, just before the war started, it was dug up.
Discovered.
Basically. The dig was ordered by Edith Pretty, who was the landowner, and she got Basil Brown to dig the site, and they discovered the ship.
And he was
the remains of the ship.
he was an amateur archaeologist and followed in the footsteps of his father.
He describes himself as an excavator.
Absolutely,
in the movie, doesn't he?
Yeah, but the sort of hierarchy of archaeology didn't give him any time really,
No.
because he was amateur.
But he discovered it basically, and discovered the imprint of the ship. Essentially, the fossilised remains, but they weren't particularly solid, I don't think, were they?
No,
Because
it was
years
compacted mud.
Well, it was years of acidity in the mud that broke down the wood, leaving the rivets behind, so they could dig out the outline of this ship. And then they discovered the gold objects, beautifully preserved, actually.
Yeah, they realised that there was a sort of hut
Chamber
on top of the boat, and that had collapsed as everything had collapsed, and underneath was all this gold and treasure.
Yeah, amazing. And the treasures can be seen. They were gifted by Edith Pretty to the British Museum, and can be seen. And they do occasionally go back to Sutton Hoo.
Right.
They occasionally loan them, pardon me, to Sutton Hoo, to the National Trust.
Because the National Trust
site.
They manage Sutton Hoo now.
Yeah, and there's the house, and there's a visitor centre there.
It's not open at the moment, obviously.
There's also a sculptural representation of the ship on site. So I'd quite like to go and visit there at some point.
Yeah, well, we can do. We can have a trip up there.
But it's been quite exciting, I think, for the viewers, because apparently the National Trust have had a massive amount of interest on the website, and people have been searching all over looking for Sutton Hoo on Google.
And the British Museum, its page crashed.
Yeah.
On Sutton Hoo, because there were so many people. And interestingly, just a little local interest for us, one of our plot holders did the PR for Netflix on the launch of the film. So that was interesting, and he and his wife said to me a couple of weeks ago, I think it had just been launched, I think before Christmas, and I'd seen it and thought, oh, we must watch that. And then I saw them between Christmas and New Year, and they'd seen it, obviously, and said how good it was. It's
generated such a lot of interest. And I did say to you, I think, when we watched it, surely this is going to really generate interest, because I think people of our age and older have a genuine interest in that. I think you sort of seem to develop more interest as you get older, but I think I said to you, I remember reading about it as a child in a history book. And of course the iconic image is the helmet, the reconstructed helmet. It wasn't discovered in that state. It was discovered in fragments and pieced back together by curators, by whatever you call them. Is it curators? No.
I don't know.
What's the name of the people that reconstruct things? Reconstructionists? I don't know. But they reconstructed it using the angles of the metal fragments to make the overall shape. So that iconic image of the mask, the helmet, sticks in your brain, I think.
Yeah.
So people are rediscovering Sutton Hoo, and I think it's fascinating because it is one of the largest, most valuable hoards that have ever happened in England. Ever. So fascinating film, really touching film as well.
I thought it was a beautiful film, absolutely beautiful. And it was one of those films that from 5 minutes in, you felt comfortable, if you see what I mean. Everything was charming and lovely, and there were some really nice bits where you had, well, there were lots of nice bits, but when two characters were talking, sometimes they split time as well, which I thought was quite nice. So you'd see them talking, but the voiceover of the two of them talking was actually a different conversation that was put over that particular time, and I really enjoyed that. I really did.
It was interesting how it was filmed, and one of the interesting things I noticed was the use of wide-angle lenses and wide-angle shots at certain points. You didn't notice that, did you? Anyway, so let's move on because we've exhausted that topic.
But
now.
do watch it. Well worth a watch.
Talking about fragments, pottery, we're also watching the Great British...
No, we're not.
The
Great Pottery Throwdown.
Great Pottery Throwdown, that's it.
Which we just adore. I mean,
which we love. We really love. It's basically a room full of people doing pottery and dropping things. That's my favourite bit, when people drop things. I love that.
And there was
I can't help laughing at people's misfortune.
There was one this week where they just done a quite a large pot or something, haven't they? And then it just collapsed. Just like in an instant.
Well, one would hope that
collapsed.
they made a large pot because it is about pottery.
No, I know, but it was because they have challenges, you know, each week, and this one would look perfect, and then.
So that's all lovely. We're also watching what season is it? Second season of Discovery of Witches.
Yes.
A Discovery of Witches.
Yes.
Which is getting more entertaining now.
It's getting more entertaining now. They've gone back to the future now. Yeah, not the future, but because they're set.
No, don't tell them. Don't tell them, Paul, because that's giving away the story. You're giving away a key part of the story and a huge twist, isn't it? You can't do that. No, don't be cruel, Paul. Cruel. Huh? You can't, can you really? Think about it.
Well, I can, yes.
Oh, go on then. Spoil it for everybody, why don't you?
No, I mean, if you're watching it, you've seen the photos, I'm sure, of the costume change from modern times to times of long ago. Because they're in different costumes.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, I suppose so. They go back in time, all right? They
go back in time. But it's really interesting for me because, again, going back to Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare, they pick this character, that the main character that goes back in time, the main male character that goes back in time. They then position him as Matthew Royden, who was a real character in that time.
Yeah.
And he was with Walter Raleigh and Christopher Marlowe. In a group of what were sort of they were spies, but they were also potentially atheists, which in that time was obviously interesting, especially if you're spying for the Queen. And the School of Night was a term that was actually coined by Shakespeare, but these characters are known as characters within this conclave of the School of Night. And it's just really interesting because he is the character that goes back in time is a vampire, and Matthew Royden does actually disappear from the history books at one point at the age of 40 or 42 or something. And it's you there, if you know that story, you therefore know that does he disappear from time because he goes back to the future. So it's for me it's quite
interesting, Paul. It is
time travel with demons.
Richard and Paul bringing you a slice of culture since 5 minutes ago. So lovely. What else? We are rewatching from the beginning. Well, we're watching from the beginning. Superstore, the comedy show, which we love.
Yeah.
So because we didn't see the first episodes, did we? We entered the show in season
4 or 5, I think.
So
because that's where we picked up on it on ITV2, but now it's on Netflix. We've gone back to the beginning.
Lovely. And finally, some disappointing news regarding our car hire.
Yeah.
Our zip car's being taken away from us.
Yeah, yeah. We've been using it too much.
They're retiring
the car. Retiring it.
And they haven't told us whether they're going to replace it.
I don't think they're going to replace it. Because we were looking at booking it. In fact, we were looking at booking it for next week to go and see Vivi, but that was like a month ago. and we brought it forward because it wasn't available. It was block booked from the 8th of February. And we were looking at it for another visit we want to do in London later in March, and it wasn't available. So I emailed Zipcar and I said, last time we contacted you, you were able to book it for us, or said you might be able to book it for us. Could you do it for these dates for us? And they've come back this morning and said basically
blah, blah, blah.
they're retiring the car and it's being taken out of service. And the next local one to us is about a 25-minute walk away, which is a real shame. Though I think we've got Enterprise Car Club about a 10-minute walk, so we're going to use that instead.
But it's not as convenient.
No. The zip car from our door to where it is at the moment is 5 minutes walk. The other one will be like 10 or 15 minutes walk. But, you know, there we are. There we are.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
Oh, that's in a song, isn't it?
Anyway, so that's it for this week. We're closing the book. Closing the book.
Oh, one thing we are going to watch is Vivi mentioned a series when we were talking about Back in Time for the Corner Shop and that type of genre of entertainment. Vivi mentioned Victorian Bakers, which I hadn't seen. I think it was a 2016 series, just a short series of 3 episodes about Victorian bakers and how baking changed over a period of time. So we're going to be watching that. That is actually a download, a paid-for download on Amazon.
Yes, I noticed you'd bought it.
Yeah.
On my account.
But we are going to watch that. I'm looking forward to that.
Good. I'm glad you are, Paul. I'm not sure I'm going to be watching it.
Yes, you are going to be watching it because it may get you into Victorian baking. Think you could dress up with the more Victorian
I can't even get
outfits
into
today.
Elizabethan baking, Paul.
Well, Elizabeth II.
Elizabethan.
It is, yeah.
Yes. So, bloody thank you for watching this week. We do hope you've enjoyed our myriad of subjects.
And the culture.
And the culture.
We give it all.
Yes, if you want it all, watch Richard and Paul. I'm going to set that to music at some point.
I think you should. I think you should. You could do a dinky dink.
Oh, Christopher Plummer died.
He did die.
Talking about music.
Christopher Plummer died.
That was sad.
Yeah, but I mean, he'd had a good life.
Yeah, I mean, it is old man dies.
Yeah.
You know, that's it, isn't it? People do die. We've got to get our heads around that, haven't we? Anyway, Paul, say goodbye now.
Goodbye now.
Au revoir. Adieu. Adieu.
No, come on. You have to do that like Christopher Plummer.
He didn't do it. It's
no,
the
but
children
you have
that
to
did
do it
so
like
long
Christopher.
No, the children sang that, Paul. So long farewell, our Wiedersehen, adieu, 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 to ya and ya and ya. Thank you. Bloody thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.